Okay, pistons are in, jack shaft is in, we're getting ready to put the head on. Okay, Bob and I made some progress. We got the pistons in, and unfortunately I can't really videotape while I'm working, so all that stuff got missed, but they're in. I'm just now putting the head on. I need to torque all the bolts. There's a particular pattern you do, so I'll get ready to do that. On the front here, step one is to get the jack shaft sprocket on, which is this one. And we messed with that for, I don't know, an hour. And it's just binding. We tried heating this up on the wood stove. I honed this a little bit. We worked on the keys, the Woodruff keys. So I'm going to keep plugging away with that today. So the goal, get the head on. I need to get this on. Once that on, I can start putting the timing chain on. And this is the guide that goes in. This one, they're just sitting here. I am missing some retainers. Let's see if we look at the drawing here. You notice here, for the tensioner, there's this retainer, which I don't have for some reason, and I don't have this one. I don't know if I forgot to order those. I can't find the old ones. Maybe they weren't there. I don't know. So that could be a showstopper. And what else? What else? I'm missing a couple bolts for this upper guide. The lower guide has new Allen ones, which I like, so I think I'll order some of those. I do have the old ones I could use, but you know, what's the rush? I'll put these in for now and then replace them when I get the retainers, the bolts. The first front piston was set to top dead center. We put a dial indicator in there and rotated it back and forth and got that. The guy that built the head already has the two front valves closed. So that's good. All we need to do is get this timing chain on, and that should line up all the timing. We'll double check that, of course. There's certain things you look at for that. But that's coming along. So that's as far as I'm going to go for now. Time to torque the head. This is the head sequencing. So first tight 43, 62, 65. So 44, 63, 65. That's what I'm doing next. So on the head, California emissions, I believe, had some sort of a tube thing running here for emissions. And the engine builder just put plugs in. But the proper filler plug is this one. For some reason, with just a standard plug, you get some sort of a whistle sound, something like that. So I need to get those out, and these will get reinstalled, which is a proper plug for the motor. So that is next. The head's all torqued down. So moving along slowly. Okay, this is called the smog plug. Goes in these holes. The guy that did my cylinder head didn't clean those out with a tap. And so the plug is supposed to bottom out down inside on that chamfer, and they won't go in. So as I tried to screw them in, I got a lot of rusty stuff in the import in the intake here. So I have to order a tap to get those cleaned out. Then I got to make sure I blow out all the crap that goes into those. So that's a showstopper. So the other thing I'm doing is installing new studs for the carburetor, exhaust manifold. And what you do is a double nut method. So I'll take these off. I just did that one. Okay, you put one on here. Tighten those up with 2 wrenches, and then just spin the outside nut until it goes flush. I can't do that with one hand, so I'm gonna have to turn the video off. Okay, studs are all in. That's all I can do there. Something I was looking for a bunch were these front shims, and they go right here on the main shaft, and I found them. Cool, so those are going to get cleaned up. I found one retainer, I don't want to call this a lock retainer, that goes on the tensioners. It's a little damaged, so I need new ones of those. Need to order those. So that'll be, it won't be a showstopper, but I won't be able to torque everything. And again, I do want to get some Allen screws for this top tensioner. And I could use these. Could use them. We'll see. Wanted to put the fuel pump on, but I don't seem to have the fuel pump gaskets. So, you know, in hindsight, I should have bought a complete gasket kit, which I didn't. I bought everything individually. So I'm missing those. So I can't put him on. I do have the gasket for the fuel pump, or the oil pump. So that can go on. Not sure what else I'm missing. This was one bolt for the upper guide. And that's an Allen. Nope, that's a regular bolt. So those are factory, but again, the new one that came with the new lower guide were Allen's, which I really like. I guess the problem with that, no, I can torque that. I have a set of nut drivers, so I can put a torque wrench on those. And what else? That's about it. I'm going to work on this shaft some more. Definitely feel a rib under there. And that could be what's holding this thing up. Definitely feel that. So that needs some work. That's weird that that got damaged. How can that be? Okay, so I guess that's about where I'm at. Anything else I can do? I could put the water pump thermostat on. That'd be kind of fun. I temporarily put spark plugs in. Not sure if those are the right ones or not. I'll do some research on that. And forget what this is. I'll look that up. So, I will continue looking at the game here. San Francisco, 17. Eagles, 16. We got 9 minutes to go. This has an effect on the Seahawks as to who they would play in the next round. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so the other parts I was looking for, there they are. I bought them, hidden. Glad I kept looking. And there's spacers for the tensioners. So I have all the parts I need. Still missing the fuel pump gaskets. My guess is they're here somewhere. So we'll see. So here I'm installing the thermostat housing. I wasn't sure. I'll take this out here. Take this off. Okay, let me set that up there. So the gaskets have this little brass insert. And I wonder what those were for. So I went to the old trusty Google AI, and for the car thermostat, the spring end faces the engine, and any jiggle pin or bleed should point upward. Okay, there was that. Let's go back here. Let's go back here. And I didn't know what those little brass parts were, so Datsun Roadster thermostat housings often feature a brass insert for corrosion resistance, especially around the thermostat sealing edge where it contacts the engine, preventing galvanic corrosion between dissimilar metals. So I was going to use Permatex aircraft former gasket on the gaskets. Until I read that. So I had some overspray on the housing. So I also got new studs. So new studs are in. I sanded off the surface. This is opposite. If you notice, you can't go in this way. It's opposite of what it shows in the manual. But that goes like that, okay? Sanded here, we have another gasket. Put that in. Thermostat with the air bleeder on top. Put that in here. Swing the gasket over. Hard to do with one hand. And then here's the housing, which I just sanded. And so he'll go in here. So there you go. Okay, the housing's on. And hand tighten. Not sure what the torque spec is, but it's pretty tight. You know, if it leaks, you can always take it off and put sealer on it. It's not a major deal. But, you know, with new gaskets and everything, I think it should be fine. So that's done. And I got to figure out what goes in that port, this port. And I have an old one here. It's got the sensor in it, so we do know that that goes in there. So I'll clean that up, put him in there. Can't remember what goes here. Heater hoses, maybe something. We'll look that up. So what's happening with the game here? San Francisco won. So I think they played the Seahawks. I'm going to have to check. Again, another close game. This is the third playoff game that just is really close. Which really shows you how good these teams are when it gets to playoff time.